Good afternoon, class. Mr. Galeronza, kindly lead us the prayer.
Ma'am, maraming salamat po sa pagbibigay po sa amin. Sana samahan mo po kami sa amin kaya niya ay mabigay po ang pinagkailangan niya po. Pero na pagkiling mo isip. Naway matalit na ng klase po ang mga nakakasip po. Tawad sa natin ng salamat sa Panginoon Jesus.
Okay, you now take your seats. Okay, once again, good afternoon. Before we're going to have our review on our previous topic, let's have first our attendance. So, once I call your name, kindly say present. Okay, Miss Casera.
Present.
Mr. Ignalig.
Present, ma'am.
Mr. Valeronza.
Visit ma'am.
And Mr. Floria. Miss Floria.
Present, ma'am.
Okay, so very good. No one's absent. By the way, what was our last topic? What was the topic last meeting? Okay, Mr. Ignalig.
Our last topic, ma'am, is all about verb.
Okay, very good. Verb. Miss Casera, what is verb?
Verb, ma'am, is an action word.
Very good. How about Miss Christine? Can you give us an example of a verb?
An example of a verb, ma'am, is eating.
Okay, very good. Eating. So, I'm pretty sure that you have learned a lot during our last meeting because today you were able to you were able to discuss or give your insights about our last topic. So, class, let me first share our classroom rules for this lesson. For this meeting. First is, I want you to listen attentively. Second is, to be participative. Third one is, respect everyone else in the class. Fourth one is, do your best and have fun. And lastly is, no cell phones allowed. When you're going to take note, of course, you're going to use your pencils or papers and pens so that you can remember the things that we are going to discuss for this meeting. Okay?
Yes,
So, taking of pictures are not allowed. Cell phones are not allowed during our class. Okay. For our lesson this afternoon or this meeting, you are expected to deepen your understanding on poetry, its subclassifications, and poetic devices. Next is, you're going to write a haiku and a sonnet. And for our third objective is to value love and its word. So, who can give or share his or her insights about this quotation? Anyone? Okay, Mr. Ignalig.
You cannot teach what you do not have. For me, ma'am, it's all about, it's referring to knowledge that we cannot teach children or someone if we are not knowledgeable enough about something or a specific subject. It is like somewhat, you cannot give what you do not have, like kind of quotation that we must acquire first knowledge before we can teach other people to have that kind of knowledge on this specific subject.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ignalig. So, indeed, you cannot teach what you do not have. Of course, because what are you going to give if you don't have something in yourself, right?
Yes.
Okay, since I saw Mr. Galeronza yawning, let us have an exercise. Excuse me. So, I want you all to stand up and then raise all above your arms and then reach the sky as much as you can. Okay, for 20 seconds. Go! Okay, very good. So, are you all awake, alive, and are you all ready to continue our topic for this afternoon?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. So, you may now take your seats. Okay, going back to the quotation, you cannot teach what you do not have. So again, you cannot give give or teaching, or especially in poetry, you cannot teach your students or your future students if you don't have something in yourself that you have already learned, right?
Yes.
Okay, so for our motivational activities, I have here some riddles, and I want you all to answer this one. Okay? First is, for our first riddle, it says, I am small as an ant and big as a wave. I can soar through the air like a bird with a tail. I can be seen by day and not by night. I can be seen with a big flash of light. I follow whoever controls me by the sun, but I fade away in the dark field like a sun. What am I? Who can answer this one? Okay, Mr. Idani.
The answer may shadow.
Okay, shadow. Very good, Mr. Idani. The answer is shadow. Next one. Okay, can you read Miss Casera? Next one. Okay, the third one.
In marble walls as white as milk, lined with skin as soft as silk, in a fountain crystal clear, a golden treasure does appear. There are no doors to this stronghold, yet thieves break in and steal the gold. But I don't do this. So,
What is your answer, Miss Casera?
the answer for me is an egg.
Okay, an egg. Very good. That is an egg. Fourth one. Who wants to answer that riddle? I have four wings but cannot fly. I never laugh and never cry. On the same spot I am found, toiling away with little sound. Okay, what is that? Mr. Villaranza.
Windmill.
Okay, very good. That is a windmill. Last one. I think it's time for Miss Gloria to answer this one. Okay. Can you read Miss Gloria and then give your answer?
What is wider than life itself, longer than forever? So simple, it's complicated. It travels but never leaves the spot. It puts others in danger but no one gets hurt and reaches the world unknown.
What is the answer, Miss Gloria?
Imagination, huh?
Okay, imagination. Wow, you're so amazing. Oh. Okay, since you've answered all our riddles, what do you think? It's already flashed on the screen. Sorry. So, our topic for this afternoon is the three main genres of poetry. First is the narrative poem. Second is the lyric poem. And the third one is the dramatic poem. By the way, who can give a definition of poetry before we dig into our topic? What is poetry? Anyone? Just a sentence or two that you can describe about poetry. Okay, class, did you know that poetry is the oldest form of literature? Poetry is as old as history, and then poetry enables us to experience or to travel the world just by reading some literary pieces. So that is how useful a literature or poetry is. So poetry also evokes a concentrated imaginative awareness of experience or a specific emotional response through language chosen and arranged for its meaning, sound, and rhythm. So again, poetry has three main genres. These are the narrative, lyric, and dramatic poem. First, let us discuss the narrative poem. Narrative poems are those that tell a story. They have the story elements such as the characters, the plot, setting, and the theme. Okay, for its sub-classifications, we have first the allegory. Allegory is a narrative poem that uses an extended metaphor to make a point. Example of an allegory are fables. So you remember that one, class, huh?
Yes.
Allegory. First, sub-classification of the narrative poem. Fables is its example. Next one, kindly read Miss Floria.
Narrative poetry that can be sung. Example here by Maria Carey.
Okay, thank you, Miss Floria. So, ballad, the second sub-classification of narrative poem. So, ballad is a narrative poetry that can be sung. Example for this one is the song Hero by Mariah Carey. Next one. Next one is the burlesque. Burlesque is a mock epic poem that is presented in a melodramatic way. Example for this one is the parody. So parody, as we can remember about parodies, these are somewhat like funny. Okay, so that is a burlesque. Next one is an epic. We are all familiar about this one. No? It is lengthy. It is a lengthy one if we're going to read this. And some may find it boring, but when you're going to read an epic, you can get a lot of lessons, and then I'm pretty sure that you will also enjoy reading epics. So epic is a long narrative poem that tells the story of a legendary hero. Example for this one is the famous Beowulf and the Biagni Lama. Okay, that's all for the narrative poem. Let's move on to the lyric poem. Miss Casera, can you read what is the definition of the lyric poem?
Lyric poems are those that can be sung. They use song-like and emotional words to describe a moment, an object, a feeling, or a person.
Okay, thank you, Miss Casera. So, lyric poem, these are poems or literary pieces that can be sung. They use song-like and excuse me. They use song-like and emotional words to describe a moment, an object, a feeling, or a person. Now let's move on to its sub-classification. First one is the activity we had earlier, the riddle. It is a short, mystifying lyric poem that poses a question. Example is, it is here, but you cannot see. What is the answer for that riddle? That is an air. Very good. It is here, but you cannot see it. Air is everywhere, but you cannot see it, right?
Yes,
So that is an example of riddle. Next, Mr. Ibdali, can you read the definition of elegy?
Elegy is a mournful poem as it honors the dead. For example, it's a wife mourns for her husband by Confucius.
Okay, that example, a wife mourns for his husband, for her husband, is a familiar literary piece for us, right? Okay, so it is a mournful poem as it honors the dead. So that is an elegy. Next is the sonnet. It is very familiar to you, right? A sonnet is a 14-line poem in an iambic pentameter with a specific rhyme scheme. The two most famous examples of that rhyme scheme are the Shakespearean and the Petrarchan. The rhyme scheme of Shakespearean sonnet is the A B A B C D C D E F G G, and then for the Petrarchan sonnet is the A B B A C D C D. So that is the rhyme scheme of the Shakespearean and for the Petrarchan. Have you experienced writing a sonnet?
Yes,
Okay, very good. So, how do you find it? It is difficult or it is easy?
Difficult, ma'am.
It's kind of difficult, right? Okay. Next is this is the example of the Shakespearean sonnet. So, as you can see, its pattern is A B C D E F G G. Next one is Petrarchan sonnet. The A B A C D. Okay. So let's move on to the dramatic poem. Mr. Villarosa, kindly read the definition of dramatic poem.
Dramatic are those that express the character's point of view. They are written from the perspective of character and story.
Okay, so that is the dramatic poem. First example or first sub-classification of the dramatic poem is the monologue. Have you experienced doing a monologue?
Yes,
ma'am. Okay, so is it hard or not?
It's somewhat challenging, ma'am. It's because
Oh, it's
you have to
challenging.
memorize
Yes.
the lines,
And then-
how to deliver.
And then you have to consider that you're the only one performing, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. For me, it's kind of awkward. Okay, so monologue. Monologue is a speech given by one character to another or by one character to the audience. It is also known as the dramatic verse when not in poetic form. Okay, so example for this one is you understand. This is a short dramatic monologue. Next one is the soliloquy. Soliloquy is a speech given by one character to himself or herself. It is a dramatic representation of inner monologue. By the way, class, this monologue is kind of interpersonal. It's like an interpersonal communication. Unlike this soliloquy, that it is similar to an intrapersonal communication. It is a representation of inner monologue. So example for this one is the farewell God knows when we shall meet again. This is a line taken from Romeo and Juliet. This is a line of Juliet from the play Romeo and Juliet. Okay, next is the types of figures of speech or the poetic devices. So there are two. We're going to discuss two types of poetic devices. First is the devices that enhance meaning, and second is the devices that intensify the mood. Devices that enhance meaning these are the figures of speech that enhance the meaning of a poem. First is the simile. I know we're all familiar with simile, right? It uses the word as and like to compare or for comparison. Examples for this are lips red as the rose, hair black as ebony, skin as white as snow, and each like a cork within its grave, and then a palm as lovely as a tree. As you have noticed in the examples, the words as and like are present. So you're going to remember that if it's a simile, the as and like are present in a sentence or in a phrase. So that is for the simile. Next is the metaphor. Metaphor makes an indirect comparison between two and like. Example is, it is the star to every wandering part. The words being, or the things that are being compared here are the star and the bard. So that is a line from William Shakespeare. Next is, the morns are meeker than they were. Where? Next is, her eyes were diamonds. Last is the apple of my eye. So it is a comparison between two unlike things. Next is the personification. Personification gives human attributes to inanimate objects. The example is the maple wears a gayer scarf. So the maple wears a gayer scarf. Next is the waves beside them dance. But they, that is a line from W. Wordsworth. Third is, Anna heard the last piece of chocolate calling her name. Chocolate calling her name. And last is the wind howled in the night. Okay, that is for personification. Next is the hyperbole. Hyperbole is noted for the use of exaggerations, making the impossible seems possible. So first example is Renee cried a river last night. So it's kind of exaggerated, right? So who can cry like a river? So next one is, I will die if you ask me to sing. Will you die if you're going to sing? Not really, right? Okay, next one is, my feet are killing me. Really? So that is exaggerated. Next one, or the last one is, and the rocks melt with the sun. Are the rocks really melt? No. No. So that is for the hyperbole. Next is the hyperbaton. This is the inversion of the normal order of words, especially for the sake of emphasis. So example for hyperbaton is, some rise by sin and some by virtue fall. This I must see, and last is, never again will you do that. So next one is, okay, let's move on to devices that intensify the mood. Mr. Ignali, can we read the definition of devices that intensify the mood?
Devices that intensify the mood. Figures of sound are the poetic devices used to build up the dynamic outlook of a poetic piece.
Okay, devices of sound are the poetic devices that are used to to build up a dynamic outlook of a poetic piece. First is the onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia uses words that mimic the sound they represent. So first is how they clang, crash, and roar. Second is little hands clapping and little tongues chattering. Second is be huddled by the crackling fire as the crickets chirp in the deepening night. Last is the pitter-patter of the rain falling the pavement like tiny footsteps. So that is an onomatopoeia. It uses words that mimic the sound they represent. So there is the term mimic if you're going to just remember the word mimic if there is an onomatopoeia that will be discussed to you or that will be tackled during your future classes or in your other classes. So onomatopoeia, it mimics the sound they represent. Next one is the alliteration. This involves the repetition of the first consonant sound in the multiple words within the line of the poem. For example is, while I nodded, merely napping, suddenly there came a tapping. So the word that is being, or the letter, the consonant that is being repeated in that example is letter L. Okay, very good. Nodded, nearly, napping. Next is, oh my love is like a red, red rose. What letter is being repeated?
R.
R, very good. Last, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. What is the letter that is, or the consonant that is being repeated in that example?
P.
Letter P is very obvious, right? Okay, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Next is the assonance. Assonance is noted for the repetition of the same vowel sound in the line of a poem. Example, who knows why the cold wind blows? Next is, his tender ear might bear his memory. Last is shining, shimmering, splendid. So that is for the assonance. Next one is the consonants. Consonants repeats the middle and final consonants within groups of words within the line of a poem. Example, he gives his harness bells a shake. Next is, if you're a dreamer, a wisher, and a liar. Next one is, he stood on the road and cried. Last is, she struck a streak of bad luck. So what have you noticed in the examples? And based from the definition of consonants, what have you noticed, Miss Casera?
From the examples, ma'am, some letters, like in the first example, the letter S is repeated in the end of every word. Also, in the second example, the letter R. The third is the letter D, and the fourth example is the letter K.
Okay, thank you, Miss Casera. So that is for the consonants. There's a repetition in the middle and final consonants. Okay, let us now. By the way, do you have questions about the topic being discussed? Okay, since you don't have any questions, let us move on to our activity. Okay, so are you familiar with the Sonnet 116 by William Shakespeare?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, so since you're familiar with that sonnet, by the way, Sonnet 116 or Let Me Not to the Marriage of True Minds, that is also called as Sonnet 116. This was first published in the year 1609, and its structure and form are a typical example of a Shakespearean sonnet. So if you're going to read this sonnet, you can see that its rhyme scheme is written in an A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, A, F, G, G pattern, the Shakespearean sonnet. Of course, since this poem is written by Shakespeare, it follows the Shakespearean sonnet. Yes, the Shakespearean pattern. And then so for our activity, from that sonnet, you're going to identify what type of poetry it is, as well as to what genre it belongs, and pick out lines from the poem and identify what figure of speech are present. For example, you're going to pick the line, let me not to the marriage. You're going to identify what figure of speech speech is that, for example, that is personification. You're going to write, for example, you're going to write, let me not to the marriage of true minds. Then you're going to put a dash and then write what figure of speech. Okay, you can do that in, I think 5 minutes will do. Okay. You write that in a 1/4 sheet of paper. Okay, are you done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, kindly pass your papers so that we can move on to our next activity. For your next activity, you just need a partner. By pair. An activity by pair. Okay. Okay. It's up to you who are you going to pair with. Okay. Mr. Valeranzo with Mr. James and Miss Casera with Miss Gloria. Okay, for your by pair activity, you're just going to organize these words or these types to what genre they belong. Okay? So, you're going to choose from narrative, from lyric, and from the dramatic poem. So, I think you can do that in 3 minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 3 minutes. Your time starts now. You can also make a table or you just have to just write it in a one half sheet of paper, crosswise. It's up to you. As long as you can organize the words and group the words given in the table. Okay, are you done? Okay, exchange paper with the other group. We're going to check. I'm just going to dictate, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, listen carefully. Okay, for the narrative poem, you check if these answers are found under the narrative poem. First is the allegory, the ballad, burlesque, epic, comedy, and free verse. Next one, for the lyric poem. Okay, elegy, haiku, sonnet, ode, limerick, psalm, blank verse, and tanka. Next is for the dramatic poem. Monologue, soliloquy, idyll, dramatic, epitaph, and tragedy. Hope that perfect. Okay, done? So, who got the higher score?
Sila naman.
Okay. Oh, very good. I can see that you really listened well in my discussion. Okay. Again, do you have any questions, clarifications about the topic being discussed? Okay, since you don't have enough questions, if you don't have questions, this is your assignment that will be collected next meeting. Okay, you're going to create haikus. By the way, this is an individual assignment, okay? Create 2 haikus and a sonnet which has the pattern of your own choice. Submit your output next meeting. Okay, are we clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let us all rise. Thank you, class, for listening and for participating in our discussion. You can now go home. Thank you so much.
Yeah.